That was 5 months ago. He only, the other day, literally, I think it was 2 days ago, finally got access to it. That's 5 months. And now he's not sure he'll have enough time. They'll allow him enough time per day to really do what he needs to do. Meanwhile, his trial is November 3rd. And you know what? This isn't a basketball game where you run out the clock on your opponent so they can't score. This is a man's life and his liberty. And his due process rights, as far as I can see, are being violated.
If Ross is convicted of one or more of the charges, how is that going to impact us?
Well, if the prosecution can misapply law, in Ross's case, it can do it to any of us. And what they're doing is taking laws that were designed for the physical world, do not match the allegations, even though the Constitution requires that they match the allegations, and trying to force them, strong-arm them, onto allegations that simply do not match. This is unconstitutional, and as far as I'm concerned, if they're going to operate that way, that is a threat to us all. If we don't have rule of law and comply with the Constitution, and prosecutors can just use the law as they wish without going to the legislature to make laws that fit, it's a threat to us all. You know, I can only observe what they're doing, and it looks to me, and this is my personal opinion, that they will use this case to expand their power. It seems to me that's what they're doing, and they've already said our laws are expansive. They use that kind of language, and you know, I'm just taking them at their word. This case is bigger than one man. This case is going to set law going into the 21st century. It's going to impact the internet, which impacts all of us, and laws will be made, precedent will be set, and as the quote that you said in the beginning, it's the law of our digital future. This is your future, and it's a matter of how do you want that to go? What kind of internet do you want? How much freedom do you want? And this case will be a very crucial aspect of deciding those questions. And we need your help. And please go to our website, freeross.org, and help us in this fight. Not just for Ross, but for all of us. Because we need your help. We're up against a Goliath, and we need an army of Davids to come alongside us and help us. Please help us. The first thing they tell you when they arrest you, they will be used against you, and they mean it. So I have to keep this brief. I'd just like to thank you for giving my mom, Lynn, the chance to tell you about the situation I'm in, and why the outcome of this legal battle will have a lasting impact on you and the rules you live under in this country. One thing I've learned since beginning my tour of the federal criminal justice system is that these guys are not all powerful. Precedent can be set that will limit their ability to infringe on our rights. I urge you to stand by me and do what you can to turn this horrible situation into a win for us. I wish I could be there with you, but of course I can't. But with your help, though, I'll see you at PorcFest 2015.
Well, I hope we do see Ross at PorcFest 2015. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it. That end of the video there was his mother, Lynn Ulbrecht, reading his message from prison, federal prison. I've got nothing but a deep sigh for that. You know, I give money, I give Bitcoin to freeross.org and drewsdefense.org now that we know about Andrew Jones, the possible right-hand man, the alleged admin of the Silk Road, Inigo. And if you haven't already seen it, here's the website. It was just put up about a week ago by his fiancée. I forget her name, but you know, this is her picture here, And they say, last December, our world was shaken up by the arrest of my fiance, Andrew Jones. He's being accused of being an employee of the Silk Road online marketplace. If you're not familiar with the case, see the links below at drewsdefense.org. His mother and I have created this site to ask for help with legal expenses. While we don't feel comfortable commenting on the details of the case itself, we'll say that we stand by Drew and we're doing everything we can to help him in this awful time. We're blessed to have Sam Braverman, an amazing lawyer, represent him. Sam has been generous and compassionate in working with us financially. However, we're still struggling to afford his services, so we're asking for help. Since he's facing an absurd, unjust, and draconian prison sentence, 10 years mandatory minimum, maximum of life, Drew deserves the best legal representation money can buy. Please consider showing him support by donating. And that is a big concern, that a person could be thrown away for 10 to infinite years just for the crime of being an administrator on a website that did so much good to bring peace and safety to the world of the black market, which we all know is very dangerous. People dealing drugs in back alleys, getting supply that is not reputable. But this developed an anonymous way for people to engage with others freely on the internet without taking great risks to their own life or property or being caged. But of course, those in the establishment who want to make sure that Bitcoin doesn't take off, that Tor doesn't take off, and that privacy really is irrelevant, they're the ones who are attacking Ross and looking to set a precedent. So please, freeross.org, drewsdefense.org. If you care about freedom and internet privacy in the future, or you want Silk Roads to exist, you need to put your money where your mouth is. If you support these things, give money. That's how the world works. So, okay, let's continue. We've talked a lot about Ross, but Bitcoin is doing other great things in the world, not just making drugs more available, but Bitcoin startup Piiko brings prepaid mobile service to 100 countries. This is at Coindesk.com. Reaching the millions of unbanked consumers worldwide has been a long-time goal of the wider Bitcoin industry, but to date, it's struggled to gain users outside of more developed countries. Crossing this awareness gap is the driving force behind Piiko, a prepaid mobile phone top-up service that currently serves customers with select phone plans in more than 100 countries worldwide, including major markets such as the US, China, Brazil, and India. Launched in April as the first product from the Dubai-based startup Ulbrecht, Piiko is part of the larger plans to court consumers by allowing them to harness the power of Bitcoin for everyday utility purchases. Ulbrecht co-founders Talik Kadumari and Sergey Yusupov told Coindesk, quote, "We started with the mobile recharge as a way that's already a necessity, and the market was ripe in terms of the Bitcoin community spending on various services and products worldwide." Here's a picture of the two. Quote, The plan is to extend into other services such as TV, internet providers, and other types of utility and bill payments that can be paid online, but are currently not accepting Bitcoin. This is brilliant. So there's lots of things that people buy every day, and they need to top up their cell phones, their internet service provider, their whatever kind of bill you have, and they want to pay them in Bitcoin, but their provider doesn't accept Bitcoin. Well, these guys are making it possible to pay, seems like through some sort of a third party or helping them set up. I'm not really quite sure. Let's dig deeper. Overcoming obstacles. Despite its founders' ambitions, Piiko has faced its share of difficulties, which saw the mobile top-up service relaunched just a few weeks ago after a lengthy blackout period. Kodami and Yusupov indicated that a third party had previously acted on its behalf, serving as the formal legal partner to the cell phone service providers it works with. So that makes a lot of sense, just as I predicted. In June, however, Ulbrecht decided it was time to forge these relationships directly in a bid to cut costs. Okay, makes sense. So eventually you're going to have to say, I could do a better job than that third party can, and I can save my consumers money, so let's do it. With this objective complete, Konami is optimistic that the service will be able to continue to cater to its already dedicated user base, adding, quote, "We're hoping this service never goes offline again." Oh, and then Reddit helped grow their organic growth. It says Umbrelab's Piiko product has notably been driven by Bitcoin's Reddit community. The co-founders explained that Umbrelab has been silently testing the service without promotion, but that word quickly got around via the social media site. Yusupov explained, quote, "One person discovered Piiko and mentioned the service on Reddit, which somehow exploded, and suddenly we jumped from less than 50 transactions in beta to hundreds in a matter of 2 days." Konami added that because of this experience, Umbrelab has continued to engage the Bitcoin community on how its services can be improved, taking part in open discussions about improvements and new features. Isn't that exciting that the Bitcoin community on the Reddit page is willing to engage with new businesses, say, hey, this is how it could be better? I mean, this is a brave new world that we're entering. It's not one like the Brave New World book. It's like exciting. This is user-driven. This is people saying, I get to be a part of this new company developing and steer its direction. Well, how does Piiko work? So Bitcoin users who come to Piiko's website start by entering their mobile phone number. If the mobile number is valid and the carrier is supported, users are then greeted with a recharge option in their local denominated currency. Seems pretty simple. So let's see, what else? Refilling my phone has been a constant struggle here in Panama. My provider's online refill option has been under maintenance for over 2 months. Thanks to Piiko, I can now recharge my phone in under 30 seconds using Bitcoin. Well, that's encouraging. So check out Piiko if you're in a country that's having a hard time recharging your phone's data plan or whatever. Seems like they're going to expand to television and other services. So Piiko, one to watch, Dubai-based Bitcoin company. Very exciting. Glad to see they're developing new uses for Bitcoin and helping companies that probably would like to accept it say, like, oh, hey, look, all these customers are using Bitcoin to pay us. That's very nice. All right, another article from CoinDesk. KNC Miner becomes the latest Bitcoin company to embrace bits. Let's talk terminology. When we talk Bitcoins, it can be difficult to denominate. Like, oh, I'll send you a couple of millibits, or I'll send you 0.03 Bitcoin, or I'll send you bits. It gets complicated because I don't like dealing in fractions. I don't like dealing in decimals. I'd like to deal in good, solid, round numbers. I think most people do too. Well, KNC Miner has its own Bitcoin wallet app, and KNC Miner has become the latest Bitcoin company to join the ecosystem's ongoing debate over how Bitcoin prices should be displayed. What do you think? The Sweden-based Bitcoin mining company announced on Twitter today that it will now allow users the option to view Bitcoin prices in bits on its KNC wallet app. The news plays into a growing debate on how Bitcoin's value should be expressed in order to best appeal to mainstream consumers. The price of Bitcoin has increased tremendously since Bitcoin was introduced 5 years ago, and as such, early adopters of the digital currency have had to express its value in much smaller units, millibits, microbits, or satoshis, for example. 1 Bitcoin is the equivalent of 1 million bits. As Bitcoin has become more and more prominent in the mainstream, some of its users and advocates believe that having a simpler, more comprehensible, and more established reputation of value could lower the adoption barrier and help put Bitcoin skeptics' fears of price volatility at ease. The debate began last year in a post on Reddit, and to date, several major Bitcoin companies have voiced their stance on the issue. BitPay strikes first. In early May, Georgia-based payment processor BitPay announced its plan to introduce prices expressed in bits on both its website and for its merchant customers. Bitcoin developer Jeff Garzik said on the BitPay blog that the transaction Bitcoin developer Jeff Garzik indicated on the BitPay blog that the transition would make displaying prices more intuitive for customers and users new to Bitcoin, saying, quote, "At a higher level, people are more familiar with prices expressed in numbers extending to no more than 2 decimal places. This assumption is built into cash registers, spreadsheets, amount input dialogues, and basic person-to-person real-world transactions." Coinbase made the same move the following month, announcing its decision in a June blog post. The San Francisco-based Bitcoin financial services startup cited its desire to ensure its platform remains user-friendly as a key reason for the move. Coinbase allows users to choose whether they want their prices displayed in bits, noting at the time, quote, "If you want the option to enable this option on your Coinbase account, simply head over to your settings page and change the Bitcoin units option to bit." Then, it isn't just established Bitcoin startups that are embracing bits. For example, QuickCoin has launched its social wallet service in May. At the time, it allowed users to display their value in fiat currency or bits, in part to help customers better utilize Bitcoin. Marshall Hayner, the company's co-founder, said at the time, "I would often hear, 'I can't get into Bitcoin, that's way too expensive.' But the reality is that Bitcoin is divisible into very tiny amounts." So where do you stand on the Bitcoin bits issue? You can call in, you can share your thoughts. Or Skype, World Crypto Net. You can tweet at World Crypto Net, you can Skype Bitcoin Talk Show. So what else do we got in the news today? Oh yeah, this was exciting. The mainstream news. I always love seeing these news reports where they talk about Bitcoin. Here's one.
Forget the greenbacks. There's a new kind of currency out there. Have you heard of Bitcoin? It's like digital money. And the St. Pete Museum of History is the first museum in Florida to accept Bitcoins. Anyone can use Bitcoins to pay for things without needing a bank account. There are no fees, and Bitcoin transactions are instant.
It is like a cash for the internet. If you think of the internet as a country, Bitcoin is a currency for the internet. And just like an email, you can send an email from here to China just as easily as you can send it from here to someone in the same room. Bitcoin lets you do the same thing with money. And so it's an internet cash, and it uses the speed of the internet to be able to make payments.
You can even use Bitcoins to buy gifts and memberships at the museum. Now, if you want to buy Bitcoins or find out more about how it works, we've posted a link to our website on baynews9.com/cnon9.
And that was Tony Galippi of BitPay. He helped sponsor the Bitcoin St. Petersburg Bowl, some football event that's happening on ESPN. It's going to be seen by millions of people, presumably, and that's going to introduce a whole new market into Bitcoin. It's very exciting that museum and tickets are all able to be purchased with Bitcoin. It seems like we're finally at that point where almost anything can be bought with Bitcoin. In the town where I live, in Keene, New Hampshire, I was able to get my haircut recently, and I paid in Bitcoin. That was just yesterday. And it's very exciting to be able to just go and scan with my phone. They printed out a receipt, and it was faster than a credit card. And it was pretty fun. So it doesn't support war. I really like that. That instead of using war dollars, I'm using a currency of free people that was developed by the market. So, okay, we're going to have to leave it there. We're going to have to cut this show short today. I apologize for having a shorter episode than normal, but next week we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming on 3 p.m. on the East Coast, Wednesdays at BitcoinTalkShow.com and WorldCryptoNetwork.com. Until next time, peace.